Okay, in this video we're having a brief look at the history of the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, they were founded in 1992, but they didn't enter competitive rugby league competition until 1995, so that is a fair bit of time to wait. Now, obviously, at the time, there was the pending Super League war, so there was a lot of issues with the future rugby league, with the New South Wales Rugby League, which is now the NRL, basically it's the form of the NRL, and the rival Super League. Now, the North Queensland Cowboys entered the New South Wales Rugby League in '95. That was their inaugural season, and that's what begin our tale. Now, I've put up all their success and their lack of. So they obviously won the Premiership in 2015. It's only 4 years ago at the end of this year. Possibly the best grand final ever played, according to some. It's also the only Golden Point grand final ever played. And we'll get the player who won them the game with Golden Point later in the video. And that was in 2015, so this is at the height of their powers. They also have been to two other grand finals. They were runners-up in 2005, so 10 years before their grand final win, and a couple of years ago in 2017, where they lost to the Melbourne Storm. So they beat the Brisbane Broncos, lose to the Melbourne Storm. So 2 out of their 3 grand finals, they have played against the 2 most successful and consistent teams in NRL history. And the Brisbane Broncos are possibly the most successful team in modern history since 1988. So in my lifetime, the Broncos are the most successful team. That's not bad going to compete with those sides and to out of 3 grand finals get a victory. That's not bad going for a lesser club, and I will say that they have less success than the Broncos and the Storm. The Storm and the Broncos were winning out of the gate. The Queensland Cowboys, it wasn't the case. However, they have won other things. They've won the World Club Challenge in 2016. So yeah, they are. They can win a grand final. And within a few months, in the pre-season for NRL clubs, they can go out and win a World Club Challenge against a Super League side that would already be in their regular season. That takes some doing. They also have won the Auckland Nines, which is the pre-season Nines competition. And that, I think, was, I believe, the inaugural Auckland Nines in 2014. They've won that as well. So, for 3 years in a row, Auckland Nines, Premiership, World Club Challenge. So they were they were possibly one of the best sides in the last 5 years. They were very, very good in the last 5 years. This is their most successful period. But they also went through a period where they weren't very successful. Also note they have no minor premierships either. So being the best overall regular season team, they don't do that. They're one of the few NRL clubs not to have a minor premiership to their name. But they're not the only one. There are others. They also have 3 wooden spoons. So their inaugural season in '95, they get a wooden spoon. And that was obviously in the New South Wales Rugby League, not the NRL, but it is basically the NRL in all but name. '97, they're the one season of Super League competition, they get the wooden spoon. Ironically, that season in Super League was won by the Brisbane Broncos. So the sole Super League season, they're the worst team. They're also the wooden spooners in 2000. Now, notice, 97-2000, I did a video on the Western Suburb Magpies in 98 and 99 and how bad they were. This team weren't much better. There is a reason why they didn't get 2 extra wooden. They could have had 5 wooden spoons had it not been for the Western Suburb Magpies being so awful. But this side in the late 90s, early 2000s, wasn't much better. They really weren't. This was their lowest point. However, within 5 years of getting their final wooden spoon, they're in the grand final. So it took 11 seasons and 10 years of hard work, but they finally reached the top of the game. And they've been consistent for the most part, most of the last 14 years, 15 seasons. They've been pretty much solid contenders for finals, contenders for the grand final. They've been a very solid side since 2005. But before then, they weren't very good. Their early existence wasn't great. In fact, their early history isn't great. And it is a shame because they have had some really, really talented players like Matthew Bowen and, of course, the great Jonathan Thurston, which we'll now discuss for a couple of minutes. He's their most capped player. Now, bearing in mind, he didn't start his career with North Queensland. He started with the Canterbury Bulldogs, where he won a grand final. He obviously comes over to the Cowboys, and he has had in his career, now that he's retired, he played 294 games for the Cowboys. Now, I believe that record could go. There are some players currently active for the team who could surpass that. Absolutely. But as it stands, he is their most capped player. 294 appearances for the team. In those 294 appearances, he's also the highest point scorer for the team, with 2,182 points by virtue of try, conversion, penalty, or field goal. So that is a fair amount of points. I could have checked how many points per game that is, but you could work it out. That is a fair return. So he was a very productive player for them. And that's an understatement. He's a world-class player. He's a future immortal of that, there is no doubt. He's probably one of the best players of all time. The fact he only came away with 2 Premiership wins is a travesty. He should have had more. This is the interesting stat that really surprised me. I could have put a whole load of stats like the most tries scored, the most points in a game, most points in a season, most tries in a season. Could have gone through all that. I would have had no space on the board. None. The overall win percentage was what stuck out to me. 41.8%. Now, I know it's very faint on the board, and that is regular season, mind, but 41.8%. When I look at the win percentage of the Brisbane Broncos and the Melbourne Storm in the mid-60s, around 64-65% all time. And then we go into the low 40s for the North Queensland Cowboys, considering how successful I would definitely say last 5 years has been for the team. That's stunning. But all that is due is to their first 10-11 seasons where the team weren't very good. They didn't win enough games, and they got the wooden spoon 3 times in that period. And that's where that win percentage comes down. If you were to look at every season since 2005 until now, that win percentage is a hell of a lot higher. And I do honestly believe that will go up as time goes on. That win percentage will get to around 50-odd% as time goes on. But that is quite surprising, considering that they've played 25 seasons. Their win percentage is at 41.8% in the regular season. That was a surpriser for me. But overall, they are a solid NRL side, but it took them 11 seasons to be a great NRL side. The first 10 seasons, there was not a lot to cheer about in North Queensland. They weren't a great side. And it was difficult for them to get players because of the success of the Broncos. And then, to entice players to leave Brisbane in Queensland and go so far north to Townsville was very, very difficult. And to get players from New South Wales to want to give up, the lifestyle of Sydney and to encourage players to possibly pay for a lot less. And on a team that wasn't successful. It took them a long time, but it's paid off. The patience paid off, and the team has now become very, very successful. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That is a brief history of the North Queensland Cowboys. And, of course, there are still many teams for me to look at in the NRL. And then, of course, once we've done that, we can look at the defunct teams that have also appeared in the Super League and NRL competitions, because there are a few. But thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below, and I will have some more videos for you very soon.